Friends, yeah, uh, the map of the world is always, my favorite pastime. I always look at it and see how nations evolved over time, right? So obviously, being in India, being a Bharatiya, right? Let me see. I mean, I look at history as purely objective. Let's say if I was living in Mars, I had no access to the history books or the newspapers or whatever, right? Because people say, I mean, history is always rewritten and by the winners and losers and all that, right? So manipulations happen, right? So if you look history with a little bit scientific or number, statistics or archaeological evidence, probably it'll be more satisfying, right? So in Afghanistan, actually, there is something called Hindu Kush. Let me see. They have some called Hindu Kush mountains, right? Yeah. So there's Hindu Kush mountains somewhere in Afghanistan. Yeah, that's kind of Hindu Kush. So, so you would see the traces of Hindu culture beginning from almost Iran all the way till Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia, all these places, right? Obviously, over a period of time, we lost the geography to various invaders. We lost Afghanistan, Pakistan, many other countries. I would call this whole area as one culture. You can call it Greater Bharat, Greater India. India didn't, the name didn't exist, so yeah, you can call it Bharat. Various small kings, monarchs, ruled this place. Now, what is special about this land? Because this land was blessed in many ways. I mean, this is one of those area on the earth where you have 5 seasons, beautiful moderate weather throughout the year, and then on the north side you are protected by the mighty Himalayan range, and on the south is by the Hindu Mahasagar, right? Yeah, it's kind of very nice that is one of the oceans which is named after our country, Hind Mahasagar, and Himalaya. Himalaya is a Sanskrit name. If you split this, Sandhi Viche, Him plus Alaya means him means snow plus Alaya. Alaya means is a place to live or a home. Very something similar to let's say Chikitsalaya or Meghalaya means what? Meg means clouds, Alaya means where the clouds. Something like Arunachal means Arun means sun, and Anchal means like a piece of cloth, like. So in fact, if you go with lot of old names also, they connect like the Allahabad was Prayagraj and Ahmedabad was Karnavati and all this. I mean, obviously these names were changed by various looters. I won't call them invaders actually because they never came and lived for a longer time. They were fought and they were they went back, right, or they were killed. However, they obviously left some traces that we see even today. So yeah, this land was blessed. I mean, let's say you see the rivers of India. You have Ganga, Godavari, Brahmaputra, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, Indus, Tapti. Yeah. I mean, Indus is the river that flows through Pakistan, right? And because of this, I mean, it actually originally it was Sindhu River, and obviously some people had struggle saying sir. I mean, in fact, when I was a child, in Rajasthan we say snan. Actually, we struggled to say snan, so say hnan. So sir became her, so Sindhu became Hindu. So that's the way we got this name Hindu. Actually, if you look at any of these Vedic scripture, Bhagavad Gita or Vedas, Rig Vedas, there is no mention of Hindu. And in fact, there's no mention of God. It's all Bhagwan. It's all abstract, I would say. They never gave a name to the religion. It's just a culture that Veds and it describes the philosophy and the God and the connect between the God and the human being and also the universe. So it's a way of life, I would say. The culture, philosophy, see scriptures you have about astronomy, astrophysics. You have medicine. You have economics. You name it, it's there in Ved and Puran. This is one of the largest collection of scriptures about philosophy, way of life, religion. I wouldn't call it religion actually. They used to call it dharma and adharma, which is right and wrong, right and wrong, right and wrong, and you constantly, debate with yourself to figure this out, what is right and wrong. Okay, let's me come back to this topic. So this place was blessed. A lot of tribes, kings, small kings ruled this place. They never saw the need to organize themselves and develop military or obviously there were no boats or airplanes during those days, thousands of years ago. So this many of these places, if you see surrounding of India, I mean this is full desert, right? This whole Arabian Peninsula and this very extreme temperatures here. Like so, a lot of invaders came through Afghanistan and attacked India at various times. So let's say if you go and check the invaders, right? I mean, we had a lot of looters starting from probably Alexander. Yeah, I mean, you name it. I mean, we had a lot of people who came into this land, attacked, looted, and let's Mughals, Turks, Mongols, whatnot. I mean, I can't remember all the names, but I mean, many people came and obviously looted or probably the local tribes fought with them and sent them back. But again, I think what was the first thing is we never learned the lesson that we have to be united and have an organized way of dealing with this ongoing attacks. But that never happened. In fact, it's the same situation today. Just 70 years ago, we lost Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Kashmir is almost, we are struggling to deal with this, and a lot of places in India where you can say mini Kashmirs. So when these whole luteras or invaders came, a lot of religious, cultural invasion happened in various part of this area. You see the traces of Buddhism, Hinduism in Afghanistan, Pakistan, obviously heavy Sikhism. So if you look at just the history as numbers, statistic, what has happened over a period of time, yeah, it's a cause of concern. I mean, one of the ancient religion, geography-wise, obviously we have reduced big time. I mean, even today, the Vedic or the people who believe in Vedic culture are significant, but the geography available is reduced. And so, yeah, a little bit to think about if what has happened in the last 2000 years, if you extrapolate on a mathematical scale, then in another 100 years there will be another split, right? If you just like dispassionately and say, oh, don't conspiracy theory, nothing conspiracy. I mean, just whatever has happened in the last 2000 years, if you just put that on an Excel sheet and extrapolate, yeah, we have a cause of concern. So the things, I mean, the things that cause that, if we don't really learn from those historical, I would say, indicators, we'll have a problem. Not today, it's very slow, maybe 100 years from now. I mean, if you see, I mean, there were like before the advent of Islam or Christianity, they were all Jews and Zoroastrians, Parsis, and now see, I mean, Jews have just one single country and they are still struggling, right? They became minority all over the world, right? So one of the oldest tribe now has become minority, Parsis. Now, another unique thing about this land is, I mean, we are the only place on earth which has all the sects of Muslim, we have all the sects of Christianity, we have all the sects of Parsi, we have all the sects of Zoroaster. I mean, you name. I mean, we have always learned somehow to coexist. I mean, for the fact that we have 5,000 castes and so many religions and sects, even today in 2018. So it means that, I mean, I, if you go back in the history, there were always some stronger tribes, stronger races, weaker races, right? So if you look at the history of, let's say, Australia, I mean, they were native Australians, right? So when this white race went into this place, they almost finished them, right? There was genocide. If you look at the history of America, right, there were Native Americans, there were brown people, black people, and when all these Europeans, when they landed into America, they, I mean, obviously they had a struggle with the native and they finished them, right? So in Germany, you saw the genocide of Jews, and in fact, the whole of this Arabian Peninsula, there is a genocide of Jews, and yeah, when Christians came, they also ran some. What do you call that? I keep forgetting the name. I mean, Christians war. They what they call crusades. Yeah, crusades. But for the fact that we still have 5,000 caste, I mean, there are different tribes, right? But united through a single culture and religion, sex, nationalities. I mean, somehow we survived, right? But the geography has reduced. So the thing is, yeah, survival is definitely one thing because somehow we even changed the invaders, their thought process. But we have constantly lost the land, which is we lost Afghanistan, we lost Pakistan, Bangladesh, this whole area to the culture that invaders brought in. So yeah, I mean, I think the PhD students of history have to really study that what are the trigger points of all these partitions and how we lost these our brothers to different cultures. I mean, if you look at their DNA, their face, their skin tone, they are pure Indian. They are pure Bharatiya. It's just that at some point in time, either they were coerced or forced, or obviously, I mean, they no invaders would have thrown a party and say, you know what, just become adopt a different religion. I'm very sure it would have been through force. And the unfortunate part is that the first generation probably they would have felt bad that we were converted by force, but now three generation, four generation later, now they're thinking, oh, we represent them. And for the fact is, obviously they don't represent the invaders; they represent the Bharatiyas because that's what their ancestors were. It's the same blood, it's the same DNA, it's the same language. If you look at the food habits, obviously since last 50 years, a lot of changes happened. People have become more assertive, they're a little confused what their identity is. Sometimes, a lot of funding comes from all these places, NGOs, and they brainwash them that their identity is based on the religion, not based on the local culture, the native culture, not the culture of their forefathers. So yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. Yeah, how to prevent that brainwashing because that the brainwashing. I mean, there were days when invasion would happen. The war would happen, and then the cultural and the religious conversion would happen. But now some of these tactics have changed. Now the invasion is not beginning with the war. Actually, the first they do these conversions and cultural changes, and they make Hindus feel as something wrong, guilt, and I mean we are the only people who call our scriptures as mythology. I mean, have you ever seen anybody? I mean, they call it gospel, the word of God, and we, the gullible, residents of this place, call our own scriptures as mythology. I mean, it's a shame. It's high time we, start reading. I mean, we lost a lot of knowledge because now there are very few people who understand Sanskrit, and it's one of the mother language. I mean, if you Google family of languages, I mean, if you want to understand history, you have to get into archaeology and the language, and then you understand that that the one of the founding root language of the world, Sanskrit. I mean, you'll find a lot of word common. Let's say uh, you call in Sanskrit Pitra, right? Pitar, and English is called father, right? Let's say you call one, two, three. Three is three, and then in Sanskrit is triya. So it's 10. Thus, you would find a lot of words like brother. So in Sanskrit we call it brata, brother, I mean, I can go in and on and on and give synonyms which the other English and many other languages have, you know, taken words out of some. And Sanskrit is one of the richest. I mean, you would find 60, 70 words just for, let's say, sun or river, or I mean, it's very rich. I mean, if you have to discuss human emotion philosophy, I mean, you can't find better language than Sanskrit because every word has a different meaning, even though they look like synonyms. I mean, it's very rich, and this has not changed. I mean, all our scriptures, the oldest scripture, Rig Veda, and all this, have been written in Sanskrit. So yeah, somehow you have to unite all these invaders. The trick they always use this to divide on certain aspects, and we never got organized. That's the biggest problem. So whenever we try to get organized, there are some foreign forces who will never let that happen, because if that happens, then we can become stronger as we were during the Vikramaditya days. Okay, so do your own research. I mean, you don't have to trust what I said. I mean, look at what has happened like a mathematician, like a statistician, extrapolate. I mean, history books are, you can always suspect. But obviously, there are a few hard facts like our mountains, our rivers, some of the ancient temples that you still see there, how the language has evolved, and what is the mother language, and like mother and matre, father and pitra. I mean, I mean, I can give many many examples. I mean, you can Google like family of languages and read the history of languages, and you'll understand what I'm trying to say. And we lost a lot of universities. I mean, the biggest problem is because we never developed our military, because there was no threat. We were, we were, we were protected by the God, the nature, the water in the Himalayas. So, and we lost. I think you see what happened to Takshila universities, destruction of Indian universities. See there. So Nalanda University, right? I mean, so the Turkish leader Bakhtiyar Khilji. So he basically, can you believe this? This man came and destroyed one of the international universities on our land, and we still have a railway station named after him. I mean, I've never seen Germans naming a road after Hitler, but we have a railway station named after the man who destroyed the the most beautiful university library. They burned it. I mean, this university had students from all over the South Asia. So yeah, we lost a lot of people. We lost a lot of knowledge, and this all nonsense that we got the independence through what do you say? Non-violence is all disaster. Say, let's say Indians killed during British rule. 35 million people. Come on, give me a break. The whole population of India, including India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, was 40 crores. And you see, 35 million, which is like 3.5 crore people were killed just during British. I mean, they call it Holocaust Jews. I'm saying the biggest Holocaust was about Indians. And all these are all unnatural deaths. The people who talk about all this non-violence shit is actually it's misplaced. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and I suggest do your own research. Uh, yeah, another thing, why this whole thing was broken, right? The Pakistan, because when British just thought of leaving the India, right? Because they were bankrupt after World War II, they had a lot of inflation. Also, the political party in Britain changed, right? from Churchill went into the Labour Party, and that Clement came into picture and said, okay, we are leaving this country. We don't want to run this because obviously a lot of soldiers were killed. The Indian soldiers were killed in World War II. So obviously they thought they have to pay pension and all these things, right? So obviously they had no money, so they will quit. So they had design of, this Pakistan, Bangladesh was one country that divided. So because it's a port. If you see, I mean, you should always focus on port countries. I mean, why the Americans still want to be friends with Pakistan? Because of the strategic location. There's access to the ocean, and from Pakistan, they can keep an eye on China. They can keep an eye on this whole Russia and all this, right? So Pakistan is a very important country for them because they have land access to China. They have ocean access, right? In fact, recently you would have seen a lot of countries got interested in Myanmar, right? Again, it's a port country. So wherever there's a port, right, there's a strategic place, and all these so-called the champions of human rights suddenly get activated. It's nothing about human rights, all about somehow get a handle on the politics of these little nations. You see, Nepal, everybody is interested. China is interested. Americans are interested. A lot of religious, cultural conversion, ideological is going on. Because from this little country, you can keep an eye on China and India both. The same with this northeast places like Nagaland. It's 95% converted into something else. So when you convert a section of society on a particular piece of land, sometimes they get confused. I mean, if they become Christians, they think, oh, they should be loyal to the Christian countries, and they think, oh, we are part of, let's say 2 billion Christians all over the world. If you convert somebody in Islam, they say, oh, we are part of the Muslims all over the world. It's not their fault. I mean, if the kids are brainwashed at the early age, they can get confused, religion or land or their ancestry, blood, DNA. I mean, end of the day, gullible human beings, whatever you teach them, they learn. But then somebody has to look at the history mathematically, more critically through the history of language, history of some of these mountains, history of the rivers, and archaeological evidence. I mean, there's a printing press. Anybody can write anything and say, "Oh, this is the history." I mean, but you can't change the fact that we're surrounded by water. There is a huge Himalayan mountain. It's called Himalayan. It's not a Chinese name. It's not an Arabic name. It's Himalaya, and people couldn't change the name of such mighty things like rivers, like Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra. Putra means son. Brahma ka putra, right? Mansa. So obviously they couldn't change because there is spanning across huge area. So I'd say do some research. I mean, the scientific way of doing research in history is how the language would have spread, and the ancient archaeological evidence and the culture and the blood, the DNA, and the tone of your skin and how, I mean, just because somebody came and by force changed somebody's religion and now their descendants are fighting with their own brothers. I can't believe this. I mean, this is the impact of brainwashing. I really don't see any difference when I see, Pakistan news and they speak as same as what it's just it's a fanatic change. And now the Pakistan thinks India is the biggest enemy. India thinks Pakistan is the biggest enemy. Now, even though people like me think that it's the same bloodline, but now it's too late. It's a gone case. You see, Kashmir. I mean, no matter how hard I explain that, guys. I mean, they still use the same surnames, right? Bharat and all that. They have a lot of people who got converted into different religions, right? They're still using the surname, the caste, which is their original identity, right? So I think the people of this land have to learn from history little dispassionately. It's not about hating a fellow human being or disliking. It's about what has happened over a period of time, no matter what, right? Let's understand the fact that all the people are not peace-loving, rational. I would say dharmic means righteous, not religious. They're not, right? So obviously you have to learn from the history what has happened over 2000 years, and if you extrapolate on a spreadsheet and what makes you think that this will not happen again, right? I mean, yeah, you can't act like a pigeon and close your eyes and think that, oh, there's no threat. I mean, we're good in this, whatever Bharat left, we are good, there's no threat. But if you look at Kashmiris, I mean, they're thrown out their own houses, like lakhs of Kashmiris raped, killed. I mean, this has never happened in any independent country of the world where the natives of one place were thrown out and they're still struggling to, have the basic rights within the Jammu and Kashmir. A guy from Pakistan can come and marry a Kashmiri and become a citizen of JNK, but this refugees still don't have rights. They can't do government jobs. They can't buy land. That's very strange. And then, after we became independent from British, we have a constitution which is secular and which is far from secular actually. It's discriminatory against Hindus. I mean, okay, if you Hindus begin to construct a school, that has to admission open for everyone, but if a Muslim or Christian opens a school, I mean, he can have reservation for his own community. I mean, in the name of this minority on caste, creed, religion, gender, I mean, the constitution has full of special clauses and special provisions status which is ensure that the country remain divided forever. I mean, when you say secular means you are religion neutral, you are caste neutral. But apart from the fundamental rights, you read the constitution of this nation. It's all if clause. If you are caste A, then this. If you are caste B, then this. If you are caste C, then this. If your religion, this. So the institutions and individual people have different rights, facilities, right? Let's say if it's a Hindu temple, the government will collect all the hundi. I mean, a lot of Indians don't know, like all the money from Tirupati and the temples in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, all the money that you drop in the hundi goes to the government. They decide what to do with that money. I mean, that's kind of strange, right? I mean, if they have everybody has a right to propagate their religion, then that money has to be used for the welfare of Hinduism, right? But then the government has taken over all the Hindu temples. Obviously, that does not apply for other religions. So that's strange, right? I mean, a Hindu is a minority in, let's say, Punjab. A Hindu is actually minority, but then he still doesn't get minority benefits. I mean, there are many states in India where Hindu has become minority, like Nagaland, Manipur, I think Mizoram or somewhere. Yeah. In Kashmir also, Hindu doesn't get minority benefits. So yeah, it's a strange country. In the name of secularism, yeah, it's nothing but appeasement actually. Secularism real means that you're neutral to religion, right? All people of this country are same and again in the eyes of law, but that's not the case. So read constitution, do some research on temples, on special laws for gender, for caste, for religion, for schools, for temples, for mosque, and then you figure it out yourself. Don't trust what I say. Do your own research and then learn what what were the trigger points, what are the reasons why we lost all this geography, why we lost our brothers to different cultures. Now they become enemy. I mean, I don't have any problem somebody becoming or learning something different, but if that splits the loyalty towards the land, then there is an issue, right? We have a given nation formula, right, which is defined by boundaries, and now if you some NGOs or some coerce people to do something different, and they become hostile to the natives of this land, native culture, and then it's an issue, right? So think about it. All right, thanks for the patient listening. Thank you and bye.